Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be taking a look at a game that was recently played on Hyperion Shale. It's a pretty interesting map. I believe it was made with the idea being that it would be a free-for-all map. Myself and many others tend to enjoy playing this as an 8v8 map though, because it's a really funky one. There's a lot of weird lanes on it and definitely ends up being some really interesting matches that do go down. Also, as an adjacent announcement to this, if you happen to be watching this within 8 hours of this being launched, so, you know, whenever this video goes live, if the little tag underneath it says, you know, less than 8 hours, it does mean that I will be casting the All That Glitters tournament over on the, over on my YouTube channel, actually. I'll be casting 2 of the games from that tournament. It's, split up across a couple different weekends, so it should be a pretty casual, pretty easy laid-back stream. Should be a lot of fun, though, because we're going to be having some games afterwards as well, which is always good stuff. So anyways, announcements aside, why don't we jump into this game of Beyond All Reason. Our red team leader spawning and going in for an air lab. Okay. Throwing me for a loop here because I was expecting... Well, I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting bots and maybe vehicles because of these delicious reclaim crystals that you can eat up. These Duracell crystals to eat up for a whole bunch of energy. No, it's going to be an air lab right here. Oh, okay, we've got a plan. Hold on, let's eat. Or let's read, rather. Meow, you eat my lab once I am flying to their side. Ah. So the other thing that was interesting about this replay is that it appeared to be pretty quick. Yeah, it just seemed like a faster sort of a game, so I was a little bit curious why that was. And apparently, Trotsky here looking to get a little bit easy cheesy. Gonna be building a transport plane here, the Hephaestus Heavy Transport, in order to transport the commander, and I'm assuming go for some sort of sneaky beaky commander drops. This is a particularly good map for commander drops because there's a lot of open areas and a lot of high grounds that you can take advantage of where nobody's going to be able to put an anti-air tower up on this high ground here or, you know, well, any of these high grounds, right? Okay. It does leave this front line completely exposed. As you can see, there's nothing guarding this front line right here, as the blue commander is just about to detect. Disami, the blue commander, 39 open skill blue commander, who we have not met yet. Sorry, Disami spawning as the blue armada commander here on the front lines. Does have ticks in place, won't scout the red base with them. Wow, okay. I appreciate the dual LLT, the dual in-base LLTs right here from the orange and red commanders, at the very least protecting from some of that harassment, but man... Big open pathway right through the middle, and you can imagine 4, 5, 6 of those ticks break into the backline here, and they would be pretty good at tearing down the eco right here. This basically comes down to not being scouted. Well, alright, it works. Hephaestus now out of the laboratory here. We do have a scout plane coming up here as well, which is always cool. Yeah, there we go. Okay, transport plane should pick up the commander here. Now we're gonna go for some fighters, too. Interesting. Okay. Fighter's relatively cheap on metal, actually. 73 metal apiece. I didn't realize it until relatively late in my Beyond All Reason career, but air units are stupendously cheap as far as metal goes anyways. Yeah, like 73 metal a pop is basically the same cost as, what is that, like a pawn? It's like 2 pawns, basically. A little less than 2 pawns. When put into that context, it's pretty bizarre. Okay, well, this is a killer scout. Maven instantly scouts that the red commander is in a plane. Alright, move the comm forward. No. You don't want to go for an AA turret. Those AA turrets are too weak to shoot down the heavy transports. Instead, what you want to do is move forward and hit the D-gun on the transport itself. D-gun is just about fast enough that it can shoot down one of these transports before it becomes a super serious issue. And then you get a free 1,000 metal out of it. So anyways, Trotsky managing to fly into the backline here. And, alright. Well, we've already settled ourselves into a bizarre sort of a game here with the frontline air lab that hasn't... I mean, where are we going to transition after this? Trotsky now setting up a little... I don't know, a little section of claimed red territory. A separate state from the blue hanging out here on this high ground right now. Okay. Going into the vehicle lab, and obviously that's simming Wolverines. Wanting to shell down on the bases of the blue and green commanders here from the high ground with those Wolverines, but it also means this commander is completely trapped. I mean, there's anti-air turrets right here for the blue base, there's anti-air... There's no anti-air right here for the green commander, actually. It's fighter production, so XMF transitioned into air very, very quickly, which is cool to see. Gonna get some of those fighters out. I'd love to see him sent across to shoot down this transport. Looks like... Yeah, we will eventually... Oh, that hit the commander. Did you see that? That plane just shot the commander. That's interesting. There was, This is like ancient bar lore at this point for, oh yeah, those can totally hit the base right there. Interesting. This is like ancient bar lore, but there was a time where they were considering a rework to the airplanes that allowed them to shoot at ground units. Essentially what it meant was that planes were significantly more expensive, but also could fire, they fired little missiles that could hit the ground or the air. It was an interesting sort of way for the air to work. It definitely would have been novel if that had been the direction that they had decided to go in, but instead they decided to not go with that change, which was probably for good reason. And yeah, it ended up being not bad. Okay. I missed a killer run by right here by the Powder Blue Commander, but yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was worried about. Okay. Frontline now in horrible shambles as a gigantic hole has opened up right here on the, well, the side of the red team. We do have tons of incisors making their way into the back line, and they're going to be more than happy to blast down the metal extractors, wind turbines, anything in the back here on this very wind turbine efficient map as well. It definitely burns to lose that much. Yeah. Wolverine shelling onto the base here. Was this worth it? Is this worth basically losing your entire position on the map just to kill one commander? I mean, maybe. It is the blue commander, right? So if there was a commander that's going to have the most impact on the game, it's going to be, I mean, typically anyways, is going to be the top commander. When you get into these higher level lobbies, or moderately higher level lobbies, that statement becomes less and less true. But generally speaking, in, you know, 80% of cases or so, I feel like it's a good move. Okay. Wolverine shelling down at the base here, still trying to kill whatever they can. The Powder Blue Commander is fighting back with a couple of Wolverines, but again, both of these are basically firing into the dark of the fog of war. Not really sure what they're actually shooting at here, so they're just lobbing projectiles at each other and hoping and praying. Resbots eat up all this metal right here and use it to turn into a T2 lab, which is kind of interesting, so, I actually don't mind that. Yeah, eating up the corpse of the teammate who essentially is playing a different kind of game over here in order to go for that T2. I just think that these are being misutilized right now. I think these should definitely kill the mexes and the anti-air first, and then we try and get off this island, right? We try and make sure that we have some escape from the Fortress of Solitude that is this little position on the red side. What are we going to go for here? It looks like we've got a constructor out, which means we must be going for something a little bit different. We do have the LLT hanging out right here. If this LLT goes down, it should be a nice transition for the red commander to step down into the fronts here. DSME's economy, well, it's actually not in a terrible spot. 2.5 mexes are still up and running, and there's 2 of them, so that's 5 metal per second. It'd be a lot nicer with this one, of course, but these Wolverines should have killed those mexes ages ago. Build power in peril here. It does pop. Metal extractor going down, and the anti-air tower falling shortly thereafter as well. The radar tower coming up and running right now. Can't select it for some reason. Trotsky. Yeah, there we go. Firing away with that radar tower. Okay. Wind speed plummets to 1 right now. That burns too. Any of these commanders going for those wind turbine economies are now suddenly left with virtually 0 energy production. You can see dwindling into the single digits the energy production. Oh no, sorry, that's metal production. The energy production here. Yeah, still only 1.5-ish thousand metal per team. Little bit of an advantage right there for the blue team, but overall not gigantic. Tzar on the way. So that's what the yellow commander's been working on. Chaos across the battlefield here. El Rimajano, Rimajano? I don't know. The Seafoam Green Commander, as well as Mini B 2277, holding the front line here with a gigantic plethora of, looks like LLTs, walls, and a couple of units, Rocketeers mostly. This has turned into a very strange kind of battle, because, yeah, no production out of this lane right here. All the production is going into this front line. Does Knowles even have a lab? Knowles does not have a lab. Okay, so that's two commanders on the red team not producing anything. I think it's time to step down, Trotsky. I think the idea here is you move this laboratory. So you build the build tower close to the cliff, and then you build the laboratory on the low ground so that you can eventually step off the plateau. You can imagine a couple of those tanks running behind here and actually killing all the wind turbines, the LLTs, all that sort of stuff. That would be monumental right now for Trotsky. Instead, it's going to be, okay, it's going to be a gauntlet. Agitator, rather. That's a blue commander dead in the midsection here, and I have a feeling Valgus is going to be very short to follow. Boom goes the purple commander as that Tzar blasts away with its heavy impulse Gauss condensed matter projectiles, unfurling a stream of hyper-condensed matter, exploding, well, explosively. Maybe not the best alliteration I've ever done, but anyways. The Tzar, a very powerful unit on the front line is what I'm trying to get at here. This tank has single-handedly broken every single defense on this front, including but not limited to commanders, meaning that the front is essentially crumbled already. And despite the red team having, yeah, 3/4 the production of the other team, of the blue team, it's enough. It's used in the right way, and it was used mostly for T2. And I guess it's worked out quite nicely here. Yeah, okay. Gonky the Great, Twitch.tv. Little shout out for you right there. Gonky the Great. Holding the line over on the left-hand side, trying to push forward, but mostly just holding for the players in strange positions to make some moves. The agitator is up and running, by the way. This did eventually come up and running. I don't know how much value it's going to get. Technically speaking, it could kill so many of these bases, but it looks like the Persecutor is already up. Yeah, the Green Commander going into that, of course, T2 artillery, and that's going to be wonderful for blasting this down. Almost immediately killing this agitator before it gets hardly any value whatsoever. Well, the red team has seized control of this midsection because of that Tzar, and so it does mean that Super Toaster can move forward. It also means this mech right here, this 6.2 mechs, which should be upgraded to a T2 as soon as possible. Well, it's going to be available. Yeah, Tzar on the defense here, going to be pretty good for dealing with medium tanks. There are not very many things in this game that can deal with medium tanks extremely efficiently, but I would put the Tzar on that list. Its high AoE means that grouped up medium tanks tend to suffer a lot, and it's just raw damage potential. Likewise, tends to imply that, yeah, there's hardly anything that can stop a Tzar on the front of the T1 era. Ticks being, ironically, one of the few things. About 100 ticks will kill a Tzar. I don't know how that stacks up metal for metal. Probably about, let me think, 100 ticks times 10 is 1,000. Yeah, it's about 1,700 metal. Funnily enough, almost the same cost as a Tzar. Funny how those things add up in a RTS game like this. Super Toaster now jumped on by a whole bunch of these medium tanks right here. Doing a bunch of damage to the commander, and those D-guns are way too late, but it, well, actually manages to catch 2 of those tanks still. Fiends burning them down, though. Oh, those Fiends do too much damage, and down goes the Maroon Commander in the midsection here. Maven trying desperately to reclaim as much of this wreckage as possible here. The Hephaestus has been sent again. The heavy transport here, the extraction vehicle for the... yeah, for the red commander going to be available. I think we go into the green base now. I'll drop his ass. The red comm with a gigantic plan here, apparently getting ready to drop into the green base, and I think that's a great plan. No anti-air available here for the green commander, save for, it looks like a single remnant fighter from the earlier fighter era. T2 bots are having a huge impact on the field, though. Pushing back a bunch of this midsection, shutting down that 6.2 mechs is phenomenal. T2 is up and running, though, in the backline, and my goodness, it's wind production. Wind is the name of the game. On a 20 wind map, it definitely makes sense. I mean, that wind is just too efficient to pass up. Tick sprinting forward at this point here. Finding a little bit of value. One of the most important things there is that they touch that radar bot, and that shuts down all of its systems. Radar bots are built for one purpose and one purpose only. They have absolutely zero sustain. As soon as you touch them, their radar systems turn off. They're entirely a support unit. They have no sustainability whatsoever. Means that a tick killing, or not even killing, just injuring one of those can be very, very dangerous. Trotsky with the D-gun takes down the T2 lab for the purple commander. My goodness, the red commander has done it again. Transporting into the backline, finding a ripe harvest of T1 solar panels to enjoy blasting apart with that disintegrator cannon. We win, cries out Trotsky with the game-breaking, game-maneuvering play here. My goodness. 500 energy a shot for each of those, and well worth every single penny. Fiend's pretty good. It's worth remembering here that also these D-guns aren't free, and they cost, well, they cost way more than the production here that the red commander has. Yeah, these Fiends are doing some work. Oh, Trotsky lives with 5% HP. Don't tell me he kills himself with the wind turbines. That'd be tragic. Down goes the red commander as the Fiends eventually are the ones that clean him up, but not before he kills an entire base and a half right here. Trying to go for the lime green base over on the right-hand side. What a strange and, well, ridiculous play right there. I love it. Unconventional beyond all reason is where it's at. Right-hand side, though, looking dire. Yeah, green team, or green player, rather, Pickle Daddy and Coop, both moving forward right now. There's a big old Sheldon ball that's firing away from a distance, trying their very best to blast down anything in their path. Sheldon are such a steady and effective tool on the front lines that it's really difficult to contest them unless you have the technology to do so. And that's what these bad boys are right here. They're sharpshooters, firing away at high range, high damage, able to one-shot Sheldon, meaning that they're effectively the counter to them, just in a strange sort of a sense. Down goes the commander, which is quite nice. For the green commander, it's actually nice that that comm didn't explode and, well, take down all their forces with it. Sharpshooters have the range to fire here, but don't have the vision in order to. There they go, finally firing away. They will find the sumo over there. Probably a worthwhile expense of their very, very slow firing speed. Yeah, sharpshooter is very dangerous to Sheldon. Alright. Another Tzar on the front line over here on the left-hand side, and you can see again just how much value this thing can get. Boom goes another commander to another Tzar on the front line. 69 kills, that is quite nice, before it goes up to 70. As it blasts down some more of these LLTs on the front lines. I don't know how to call this game. It's a gigantic advantage for the red team as far as the map control goes. They just have more of the map under their unit control. But again, these run-bys are killer. Every single time that one of these units breaks through, or one of these clumps of units breaks through, it just looks phenomenal for the blue team. It really does. It's a huge advantage on the map. And there's loads of mexes that are unclaimed right now. And then again, yeah, we have more and more units breaking through. Tzar eventually going to shut those down. But man, I love the aggression coming out right now from the blue team. And I also love that they just have absolutely no idea what to do about this guy up here. Trotsky has just been hanging out on the high ground right here just for a good long while, trying to figure out what to do. I think the play here is a tremor. It looks like we're going to be going into some T2 play at this point. We're going to try and get something done with a T2 vehicle lab, but I'm curious what on earth the actual play will be. No static defenses up here, save for a single twin guard, not sturdy enough to go up against those very, very rigid termites. They have quite a lot of armor plating. They make for a solid front line, actually. They're very, very dense. For being an all-terrain unit, they're extremely, extremely dense. And there they go, blasting apart the base right there, the red commander, finally solving the Trotsky dilemma. Once and for all, a little bit of friendly fire killing that, or almost killing that constructor plane right there. That was a bit odd. Loads of pings over here. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, I see. XMF was reclaiming the laboratory here of the green commander, unfortunately. Gotta keep your eye out on those res bots, reclaim bots. You never know when they're going to be able to do, or what they might accidentally do. Flanking will be huge here as the Tzar fires away, doubling its damage output. Doesn't take a mathematician to see how powerful that can be. Yeah, Gonki the Great reclaiming a whole bunch of this. Yellow res bots eating up all this wreckage here as well is phenomenal. Yeah, Meowcat Mao, and it looks like Gonki the Great can eat up the majority of the wrecks here. We do have a couple of, ooh, D-gun. Nice D-gun right there. Very close on the trigger. Almost lost it with the commander, with those tanks running directly into the commander, but eventually managed to get the D-gun off. Still, though, the push on the left-hand side is looking quite nice. It's a yin-yang situation. I did not expect this. Out of a game with such a bizarre turn of events, I did not expect that the blue team would be able to crack the right-hand side and now start moving in on both of these bases. Sheldon firing away from a long distance, supported by this spam of grunts coming out to the front now. Sivan is losing ground rapidly here. The Welder's unable to keep up with the spam as well as the Sheldon firing away. And the Fiends burning a path across whatever that they can find. The grunt spam from the Maroon Commander now being sent in this direction, redirected to try and shut down any of these Fiends that are coming across. Yeah, more and more units pushing forward right here. This Tzar tank has done so much work. What a hero. 144 kills on this Tzar. I think that's going to be our hero of the game. Get in on the action. Watching that Tzar tear apart these tanks right here. What a cool unit. I love this Tzar. It's one of those classics, right? Big tank. Big tank energy is phenomenal. XMF, trying to hold the line over here. Actually doing a good job. Oh, rolling forward with the Tzar. Oh, are we gonna get it? The AoE will eventually kill that commander. He D-guns down one of the Tzars, but the second Tzar, the follow-up Tzar, will be sufficient to blast it down. I would love to see this T2 max up and running. 6, 8, 12. No, 6, 12. What is it? 24. 24 metal per second. 28-ish metal per second. 24.8 metal per second. Brightworks does math. Live on a video. You heard it here first, folks. Recluse is not ideal against Fiends. They're too fast for Recluses to effectively fight against. The Webbers are nice. They can turn that tide, but you need a lot of Webbers in order to paralyze things effectively. That being said, if you do have those Webbers, it means you can very, very efficiently trade right here because the Webbers can eat up all the wreckage while you're taking the fight. Not only paralyzing, but also reclaiming a whole bunch of this. So it can be a really effective composition, a really dangerously effective composition. Paralyzing things is a oftentimes undervalued aspect of the interactions between units and Beyond All Reason. Couple of EMP'd units, critically EMP'd, critical units that are EMP'd can change the face of an entire battle. Heavy tanks going in for the GG. Loads and loads of E-converters here. They're the obvious target. Boom go the E-converters, taking out a whole bunch of the build power right there. Both build power chains react, and that will be, well, all the build power, most of the build power right there for the Cyan here are going down. The Aphis is in trouble here as well. Oh, those Tiger tanks are tough to kill. 16, 10, boom goes the Aphis for the Cyan Commander Coup. Just like that, 3,000 metal and an entire base down the drain as that thermonuclear explosion takes out the last remaining vestige of advanced technology, let's call it. I almost got into like Gothic 40k terminology right there. High Gothic technology, the advanced technology, the advanced plasma fusion reactor. Interesting little forward operations facility over here. Curious what we're going to be doing with that. Yep. Scorpion's pretty good. Twin Guard's actually very good as well. I will point out that Twin Guards are actually a relatively effective defense against Fiends. It's a weird kind of interaction, but they do just enough damage to be semi-efficient. Scuttle on the field. Uh-oh. The Scuttle Bomb. Pop. Parts strewn across the battlefield right there as that Scuttle connects with a giant ball of Sheldon. Man, I love to watch those things work. They're so brutal. Every time a Sheldon gets a good connection, a Brightworks gets its wings. That's right, Brightworks are plural. You should be terrified. Pawns are now headed out on the field. Well, pawns are once again headed out on the field here. Scorpion turret coming up over here. I think the heavy tanks are going to have something to say about that. There's always the option to outspam the opponent, right? If you put enough bodies between the enemy and your production facility, most of the time you're going to be able to shut them down. The amount of bodies it takes, though, it can just vary greatly depending on what unit it is. And pawns tend to have a pretty good trade-off for that coefficient anyways. They're actually relatively good at shutting down even heavy tanks. I mean, you can see they're nobody's sharpshooter, but they're decent when they're in a big swarm because they get so much flanking damage. T3 now rolling across the map. Those are the new and improved Shivas. Headed on over. Big old bombing run headed across, though. Uh-oh. Are there any fighters? There's a single Maroon fighter. We also have some anti-air in the form of a advanced exploiter right here. Only gets one shot off. There we go. Red fighters jump on the bombers, though. Hey, nicely done. Yeah, red commander with the fighters in the air. It's not going to be enough to... Oh, well, T2 or T3 lab doesn't even go down. It will be more than enough to shut down those bombers before they really effectively get any damage. Not bad. Who knew those remainder fighters from the early T1 stages would end up coming in so handy? Mammoth here doing a great job of protecting these Sheldon. Oh my goodness, the parts flying into the upper atmosphere launched by the thermonuclear detonation from those scuttles. Scuttle bombs. Who would have thought Scuttle bombs would be the savior right here that this team needed? Shiva marching forward. I wonder how much damage Scuttle can do to a Shiva. What is it? Wow! Whoa, that's a lot of damage right there. That was like 80% damage to a Shiva from a Scuttle. Are Scuttle the counter to T3? It may well be that Scuttle are the actual hidden counter to T3 units. I've been thinking it was Mammoths and Sheldon this whole time. Apparently, it's the Scuttle bomb. Shiva, in mass numbers though, still quite difficult to deal with. And obviously, against Scuttles, their AoE is quite effective. It's a haunted wasteland out in the midsection. Tank corpses and bot corpses alike litter the battlefield. But eventually it does fall mostly under the control here of the red team. With an eco advantage of about double. Well, wall reclaiming anyways. I appreciate how enthusiastic Trotsky is here. One commander apiece for both of these teams. Skip the Master going to be the last remaining commander right here for the red team. It looks like Maven, the powder blue commander, just being chilling over on the coast right here next to this geothermal plant, going to be the last commander for the blue team. I'm not sure why I thought this match was a quick one. I must have been looking at a different replay. 25 minutes into the game now, and we are finally seeing Shiva production from the green commander. Basically the last bastion of technology available right here for the red team as those Shivas start marching out to the field, getting ready to try and find some value wherever they can. I just can't help but wonder if it's going to be enough in time. Wow, look at all those Webbers too. The Webbers trying to paralyze those Shiva. Yeah, the Webbers just don't have enough EMP to really be effective at paralyzing T3. You need so many of them that at some point they become ineffective, inefficient maybe. I do wonder though if EMP beams benefit from flanking damage the same way that, well, other weapon types do in this game. Do two EMPing forces on either side of a unit that they're trying to paralyze twice as fast? Do they get the same benefit? I'm sure there's a developer somewhere lurking in the comment section that's going to be able to point that out to us or not. Wow, I can't believe it. Shiva are breaking through over on the midsection. Bombers deploying whatever warheads they can from high orbit. Fighters sweeping across the map. Where are we going with these fighters? I do wonder. Looks like mostly just trying to clear the airspace here, but there's nothing. There's nothing for the blue team in the air right now. Orange forces marching around on the right-hand side. They need to be stopped. While this fight rages on in the midsection, there's a gigantic push over on the right-hand side here of the blue team. A little bit of a funky stalemate over here on the left-hand side. We've got a whole bunch of T2 staring off against a whole bunch of T1. We've got an Aphis over here next to the AGU as well. That's a explosive way to build a main base, I will say that. Karganeth rolling out of the lab here for the brown commander, which is good to see. Karganeth very, very effective. Obviously, with the hills on this map, they're quite good for traversing into areas that are otherwise a little bit more difficult to access. But also, just in general, their damage output is quite consistent, quite solid. 2% against a Shiva per second, more or less. Might be more than that. Might be closer to 4 per second. Making a compelling argument for themselves. There they are. Sheldon firing away at this base. Hey, and it looks like that will be the end of the red team, or will be the end of the blue team, pardon me. The red team is sending the bombers across, and it's enough to break the spirits here of the blue, who were holding out for the longest while, but didn't manage to do enough damage with their right-hand side push before eventually getting stopped by those T3 forces. Man, what a back-and-forth game. What a beautiful one this ended up being on Hyperion Shell. Thanks a ton for watching, and if you did enjoy, please feel free to like and subscribe and join the Brightworks community. There's also a Discord that I run, linked to down below in the description if you'd like to join that as well, where you'll get announcements about random live stream, well, not random live streams. I stream every Saturday, 12 to 4 PDT. Unless there's a tournament, then it's usually 8 to 4 PDT. There's a whole bunch of other fun stuff in there too, so go check it out. And I hope to see you in the very next match of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.